So now we will create a load balancer for our application, because customer cannot remember the port of the application or either its public IP address. For that, I'm going to create an application load balancer. So I will repeat the steps that you have seen in the previous video. So first thing, I will choose my VPC, and for the mapping, what are the availability zones that I'm going to target, or what are the availability zones that I'm going to put the load balancer in front of them. So as long as we have created many subnets or the most subnets in the first availability zone and the second availability zones, then that of only that available zones that will appear here in the mapping section. So I will check both of them, right? And as long as I want to forward traffic only to a resource that reside in the public subnet, so I have to choose the public subnet. And for the other one, I will choose the second public subnet. I will scroll down here, and then I will choose the security group that I have used for this region. That is KHS security group, that stands for Kubernetes security group. I will scroll down here, and then what is the port that want my Elastic or my application load balancer to listen on. By default, it is the default port of the HTTP, that is 80. Then a load balancer need a target group. So what is a target group in reality? Let me come to Figma here and show you what is a target group. So we have our load balancer here, right? And this one will be my load balancer, and this one my first instance, for example, and my second instance, right? So I will call this a load balancer. Sorry for the pronunciation. And the other one is my VM1, or call it whatever you want. Here I will call it EC2, and the other one is another EC2 instance, right? Then this is the load balancer. The load balancer distributes the traffic across this instance, and this instance are reside in a zone, call it a zone if you want, and this zone stroke is called the target group. So the target group is a group of instances that want them to be fronted by a load balancer, or the instance that want to distribute the traffic to them across the load balancer. I hope that is clear for you. So I don't have no target group yet. So what I have to do is to create that target group. So in the target group, we have to specify some settings. The type of the target. As long as we want to target our EC2 instance, then we will choose instances. Scroll down, and here I will call it Azure AWS target group. And then for the port, this is the port of the instance or the instances that I want to forward the traffic to. In our example, it is the port 3400. So I have to come here and then paste that here. And by default, the VPC, it is the same VPC I have selected when I created the load balancer. So we scroll down here, and for the health check, right, it will be the slash, and the healthy threshold. What means that the load balancer before every time, or every time, not every time, but here in an interval every 30 seconds, right, it will send traffic to this instance. First request, the second request, the third, the fourth, and the fifth request. So if this instance send a response to the load balancer on each request, or yes, if this instance respond all these 5 requests, then the load balancer will mark this instance healthy, and then healthy. If it sent to it request and it did not respond, then it will mark it as unhealthy. And then next time he will send request or traffic to this instance, and it will repeat the same procedure on this instance. But the problem here is, why if this instance market this instance unhealthy and this instance unhealthy, then next time when customers will try to interact with our website that reside in these EC2 instances, will not be able to see the web page of our e-commerce, for example, or our website. So for that, another features that AWS offer, call it the auto scaling group. This is where is the benefit of auto scaling group. So once the load balancer mark this instance as unhealthy, then the auto scaling group going to terminate this instance, and instead it will going to create another instance here. And the same thing, if load balancer mark this instance as unhealthy, then it's going to terminate it and then create another instance here. I hope this is clear for you now. So for healthy threshold 5 and unhealthy 2, and interval is 30 seconds. So I will click on next, and here this is all the instances that reside within my VPC. So I have to choose one, in my case the worker node, and come here and click on include as appending below. Then this instance will be added here to this target group. Then I will create the target group. So make sure to change the port to the port that our application listen on it. For example, if you keep the port as 80, then the load balancer will send the traffic to the port 80, and there is no web server listen on that port. So it will make our instance unhealthy. You have to send the request or the traffic to the port that is opened, and there is an application that is listen on it. That is the port 30 and 400. This is our node port service. So let me come back here and refresh. So I will be able to see that target group here. Scroll down and then create that load balancer. So I have to wait until the state became